this video is about. She sat under the stadium lights, and a billionaire handed her his jacket. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The sound of 1,000 voices echoed against the metal walls of the stadium, a cacophony that blended together into a singular, anticipatory roar. The air was thick with the scent of popcorn and fried dough, mingling with the faint metallic tang of excitement. It was a warm summer evening, the kind that held the promise of a lingering night, where stories would unfold under the brightness of the stadium lights. Ella Sinclair sat on the bleachers, tucked away from the crowd, her heart racing not from the excitement of the game but from the weight of her thoughts. She pulled her knees to her chest, resting her chin on them, as her dark curls tumbled loosely over her shoulders. It had been a year since she moved to the city, and while the vibrancy of life around her filled her with exhilaration, it also reminded her of the loneliness lurking just beneath the surface. The game was just about to start, and the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, introducing the players. Her eyes drifted absently over the field, but she couldn't quite grasp the details of the game. Instead, she found herself lost in the memories that had brought her here. Her mother's encouraging words, her father's disappointed silence when she chose to follow her dreams rather than take over the family bakery. She had fought hard to carve a path for herself, only to find that the city was both exhilarating and achingly isolating. "Hey," a voice broke through her reverie, pulling her back into the moment. She looked up to see a tall figure approaching, his silhouette backlit by the floodlights that illuminated the field. He was clad in a tailored navy suit, an unusual sight at a sports event. As he drew closer, Ella could see that his dark hair was slightly tousled, giving him a casual charm that contrasted with his polished appearance. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, gesturing toward the empty space beside her. Ella hesitated for a moment, surveying his confident stance and the glimmer of something unrestrained in his dark brown eyes before nodding. "No, go ahead," she replied, her voice barely above the din. He slid into the seat beside her, and there was a brief moment of silence as they both turned their attention back to the field. The crowd erupted as the home team took the field, a wave of cheers washing over them. Ella felt the energy pulse in the air, and for a moment it brought a flicker of warmth to her chest. "I never thought I'd enjoy a game this much," he said, offering her a sideways glance. "I usually prefer more refined environments." Ella raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Refined, like corporate meetings and charity galas." "Exactly," he chuckled softly, the sound warming her heart. "But there's something about the chaos of a live game that's intoxicating." "Intoxicating, huh?" she teased, a smile breaking across her face. "Maybe you should spend more time in casual places. You might find some fun." "I'll take that under advisement," he replied, returning her smile. "I'm Julian, by the way." He extended a hand and she took it, feeling the firm shake that sent a tiny jolt through her. "Ella," she said, letting go of his hand more quickly than she intended, a small heat creeping to her cheeks. "So, are you a fan of the team?" "Let's just say I have a vested interest," he said, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "I might own them." Ella blinked, surprise flashing across her face. "You own the team?" He nodded, leaning back slightly, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Guilty as charged. But before you start judging me for my wealth, I assure you, I'm just here for the thrill of the game tonight." "Right," she said skeptically, her shoulders relaxing slightly. "And here I thought you were just a regular guy enjoying the game." "Regular, where's the fun in that?" he quipped, the twinkle in his eyes deepening. As the game progressed, Ella found herself drawn to him. He spoke with passion about the players, the strategy, and the history of the team, his enthusiasm contagious. She couldn't remember the last time she had enjoyed someone's company so effortlessly. The laughter came easily, and the banter flowed like a dance, each exchange drawing them closer. When the home team scored a point, the crowd erupted into a frenzy, and Ella found herself clutching Julian's arm in excitement. He turned to her, his expression alight with joy, and for a split second their gazes locked, a spark igniting in the air between them. She felt a sudden rush of warmth that had nothing to do with the game. "Looks like I'm not the only one getting into it," he teased, the corner of his mouth quirking up. "Maybe you've converted me," she replied, a playful challenge in her tone. "You're a quick learner," he winked, and her heart fluttered uncharacteristically. As the game wore on, the score remained tight, tension hanging thick among the crowd. Ella leaned forward, her heart racing with every play. They shared snacks and laughter, Julian occasionally leaning in closer, his presence magnetic. Ella could feel the chemistry simmering between them, an electric charge that sent shadows of uncertainty dancing along her spine. "What do you do in your spare time, Ella?" he asked, his voice low and inviting, cutting through the noise of the crowd. "I do a lot of things," she said slowly, trying to gauge the depth of his interest. "I work in a community center mostly, helping kids learn skills and explore their creativity, and I dabble in writing." "Writing? I'm intrigued. What do you write?" He leaned in closer, his expression genuinely interested. "Mostly poetry and short stories," she said, her stomach tightening with vulnerability. "I'm working on a novel, but I haven't finished it yet. It's hard to find the time between work and everything else." "Everyone has a story to tell," he said softly, an intensity in his gaze that held her captive. "You should finish it. I'd love to read it." "Thanks," she said, feeling a warmth spread through her. "But it's not as easy as it sounds." "Nothing worthwhile ever is," he replied, his expression growing serious for a moment. "But you seem like someone who understands that." Ella's heart raced at the intimate weight of his words. They held an understanding that transcended the casual banter of their earlier conversation. She felt a stirring within her, a longing to share more, to peel back the layers of her life and let him see the woman she truly was, not just the surface she often presented to the world. "Maybe I do," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the roar of the crowd. As the final minutes of the game ticked away, the tension built to a crescendo. Ella's fingers found their way to the edge of her seat, her heart pounding in tandem with the rhythmic chants of the crowd. Julian leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear as he murmured, "No matter what happens, I'm glad I met you tonight." Their eyes met again, and Ella felt the world around them fade away, the stadium buzzing with energy while they were suspended in a moment all their own. The game ended with a triumphant cheer as the home team scored in the final seconds. The crowd erupted in ecstatic frenzy, but Ella's focus remained solely on Julian. He turned to her, his expression a mix of triumph and something deeper, something unspoken, lingering in the air between them. Before she could think to react, he slipped off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders, a gesture that felt unexpectedly intimate against the backdrop of the raucous celebration. "You look like you could use this," he said gently, his fingers brushing against her arm, leaving a trail of warmth in their wake. "Thanks," she breathed, her heart racing as she felt the fabric envelop her, the scent of his cologne wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. "Would you let me take you out sometime?" he asked, his tone shifting to something more serious, a hint of vulnerability threading through his confident exterior. Ella's breath caught in her throat, the weight of his question hanging heavily between them. The stadium lights flickered overhead, illuminating the moment as the chance to step into something unknown beckoned before her. She searched his gaze, finding layers of sincerity beneath the playful exterior. And suddenly, the chaos of the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them suspended in possibilities. "Yeah," she said finally, her heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and fear. "I'd like that." As the crowd continued to cheer, Ella felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Beneath the stadium lights, a connection had sparked between them, one that promised to hold more than just fleeting moments. In a world filled with noise and distractions, she felt that, just maybe, they had found something worth exploring together. Ella's heart thudded in her chest as she looked into Julian's warm, inviting eyes, feeling the thrill of what lay ahead. The vibrant atmosphere of the stadium, the loud cheers and the cacophony of excitement faded into the background, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of shared anticipation. She could hear the hum of conversation around her, but within this moment, it felt as if time had slowed down, allowing her to drink in every detail of him. Julian's expression shifted, becoming more earnest as he leaned closer, the heat radiating from his body mingling with the cool night air. "I know this is all a bit sudden," he said, his voice low and sincere, "but I felt a connection with you tonight, Ella. It's rare for me to meet someone who feels real." Ella's pulse quickened, not just from his words but from the intensity of his gaze. She swallowed hard, grappling with the sudden swell of emotion stirring within her. "I felt it too," she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. "It's strange, isn't it, meeting someone like this in a place like this?" His brow furrowed thoughtfully as he nodded, the smirk fading momentarily. "I've spent so much time in boardrooms and high-profile events that I almost forgot what it feels like to just be, to connect over something as simple as a game." She smiled softly, touched by his honesty. "It's easy to lose sight of that, especially in a city that moves so fast." She gestured towards the field, where players were still celebrating in a dazzling display of camaraderie. "But moments like this remind you of what really matters." "Exactly. You remind me of what really matters," he said, his words hanging heavy in the air. Ella felt her heart leap at the sincerity in his tone, a warmth creeping up her cheeks that she hoped the dim light would conceal. Julian's smile returned, and it was infectious, igniting a spark that chased away the lingering shadows of her earlier insecurities. "So, how about that dinner?" he asked, his voice playful yet earnest. "I promise to take you somewhere that doesn't involve a stadium or fried dough." She laughed, the sound bubbling up unexpectedly, and felt the tension ease between them. "Okay, I'm intrigued. Where do you have in mind?" "Let's just say it's somewhere with the best view in the city," he replied, his eyes glinting with mischief. And for the first time, she noticed the hint of vulnerability in his demeanor. "But you'll have to promise to wear something other than a jacket." "Deal," she said, her heart buoyant with excitement. "As long as you don't wear that suit." Julian chuckled, the sound rich and warm. "Fair point. I'll leave the suit behind for our first date. I'll even wear jeans if it makes you happy." "There's just something about a guy in jeans," she teased, leaning playfully into him. "You might just win me over." His laughter mingled with hers, creating a symphony only they seemed to hear. But as the raucous celebration continued around them, Ella couldn't help but steal a glance at him, wondering how a night so ordinary could feel so extraordinary. There was something magnetic about Julian, a pull that drew her in, yet she also sensed the layers beneath his confident exterior, a complexity that intrigued her. "Uh-oh, we're going to be caught up in the post-game crowd," he said suddenly, standing and extending his hand to her. "Shall we?" Ella took his hand, feeling the firmness of his grip as he helped her to her feet. The moment their hands touched, a jolt of electricity surged through her, igniting a flurry of butterflies in her stomach. She looked up at him, and for a moment they stood there, lost in each other's gaze as the crowd surged around them, a sea of faces and emotions. "Let's escape while we still can," she suggested, a hint of mischief in her voice, and he chuckled as he led the way down the bleachers. The throngs of fans celebrating, reeling with excitement, and high-fiving one another felt like a distant world now, their laughter and joy blending into the background noise. As they navigated through the crowd, Julian kept an arm protectively around her waist, guiding her through the throngs of people. Ella felt a rush of warmth at his touch, the way he held her close yet respected her space. They stepped outside into the cool evening air, the night sky dark and alive with stars, the city lights twinkling like faraway dreams. "What do you think of the city so far?" Julian asked as they walked, the sound of their footsteps muted against the pavement. "It's vibrant and electrifying, but it can also feel overwhelming at times," she admitted, her eyes darting around at the cascading bright lights of the buildings around them. "I didn't realize how much I craved connection until I got here." Julian turned to her, his expression softening. "It can be isolating, can't it? I've been surrounded by people for as long as I can remember, yet I've often felt alone. It's ironic." Ella nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "But it's moments like this that remind us we're all looking for something, connection, belonging, maybe even a little adventure." "Adventure, huh?" His lips curled into a smile that made her heart race. "I think I can handle that, and if you're lucky, I might even let you in on some of my adventures." "Oh, really?" she challenged, meeting his gaze, a playful glint in her eyes. "What kind of adventures are we talking about?" He feigned a serious expression, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "The kind that involve rooftop views, artisanal desserts, and maybe a little bit of danger." Her heart quickened at the thought. Danger, like getting caught in a rainstorm without an umbrella. More like sneaking into exclusive clubs or trying the spiciest food in town, he replied, his tone conspiratorial. "You seem like someone who could handle herself under pressure." "I can handle more than you might think," she said, challenging him with a raised brow. He laughed, the sound echoing in the night air. "I like your spirit, Ella Sinclair, it's refreshing." They reached a corner where a small cafe stood, its warm lights glowing invitingly against the darkening sky. Julian paused, his gaze shifting to the cafe. "What do you say? I know a place that serves the best hot chocolate and pastries." "Hot chocolate sounds perfect," she replied, her heart swelling at the thought of spending more time with him. "Especially after that game." "Great, let's go." He opened the door for her, and as she stepped inside, she felt the warmth envelop her like a cozy blanket, a stark contrast to the cool night outside. The cafe was small and intimate, with wooden tables and the inviting aroma of baked goods wafting through the air. They settled at a table by the window, the streetlights casting a soft glow that illuminated Julian's features, making him look even more handsome. "So tell me more about this book you're writing," he prompted, leaning forward, his curiosity evident in his gaze. Ella felt a flutter of nerves, but also a thrill at the thought of sharing something so personal. "It's been a work in progress for a while now. It's a blend of fiction and poetry, a reflection of some of the things I've experienced and observed in life." "I'd love to hear more about it," he said, his tone earnest. "What's it about?" She took a deep breath, her thoughts racing. "It's about finding your voice in a world that often tries to silence you. It explores themes of love, loss, and the struggles of self-discovery. I think it's a little bit about me too." "I think that's beautiful," he replied softly, his gaze unwavering. "There's so much power in vulnerability, and it takes courage to share your story." Ella felt a warmth spread through her at his words. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." He smiled, and for a moment the world around them faded away. As their drinks arrived, steaming and rich, Julian raised his mug. "To stories yet to be told and connections yet to be made." "To new adventures," she echoed, clinking her mug against his. With each sip of the hot chocolate, Ella felt the lingering tension between them transform into something deeper, something more intimate. As they exchanged stories about their lives, their laughter mingled with the sounds of the cafe, creating a rhythm that felt familiar, like a melody they were both meant to dance to. Julian shared anecdotes from his life as a businessman, the humorous mishaps during high-stakes meetings, and the challenges of managing a team of people with diverse personalities. She found herself laughing at his tales, her heart swelling at his openness. He painted a picture of a world that often felt stark and cold, yet he brought warmth and humanity to it, revealing a man who understood the delicate balance between ambition and connection. Ella shared her experiences at the community center, her passion evident as she spoke about the kids she worked with, their dreams and aspirations. She told him of the young artists she had mentored. Ella's laughter filled the small cafe, her heart light as she talked about the young artist she had mentored. "Her name is Mia," she began, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "She's only 12 but has this incredible talent for painting. The way she captures emotions in her artwork is just breathtaking. Every piece tells a story, and I can't help but get wrapped up in her world." Julian leaned in, genuinely captivated by her words. "What does she paint about?" he asked, his voice soft but intense, like he was hanging on her every syllable. Ella took a moment to gather her thoughts. "Mia often paints her feelings. When she's happy, her colors are bright and vibrant yellows and oranges. But when she's sad or angry, her palette shifts to darker blues and grays. It's almost like she's showing the world her inner landscape through her art. I try to encourage her to express herself freely, to not hold back." Julian nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I think encouraging that kind of self-expression is so important, especially for kids. It shapes who they become. I can see how passionate you are about this. It's inspiring." Ella felt a blush creep to her cheeks, a warmth spreading through her that had little to do with the hot chocolate. "Thanks, Julian," she murmured, her heart racing at the sincerity in his gaze. "It's rewarding work, even if it's challenging sometimes. I often feel like I'm learning just as much from them as they are from me." "I have no doubt," he replied, his voice deepening. "You seem like someone who naturally brings out the best in others. It's a gift." He paused for a moment, his gaze steady on her, and there was a silence that felt charged with something unspoken. Ella's heart raced, and she felt as though the cafe had receded into the background, leaving just the two of them suspended in a moment of shared vulnerability. "What about you?" she asked, eager to turn the attention back toward him. "You've got this whole world behind you, running a team and everything. How did you get into that?" Julian chuckled, his expression shifting into a more playful one, but Ella caught the glimmer of seriousness behind it. "Believe it or not, I stumbled into it. My father always envisioned me taking over the family business, and while I went along with it for a while, my heart was never really in it. I didn't start out as a businessman. I was just a kid who loved sports." "Seriously, you loved sports?" Ella leaned forward, intrigued. "You don't seem like the type." "Oh, but I was," he said, a nostalgic smile crossing his lips. "I played soccer throughout high school, even thought about going pro for a moment, but life had other plans for me. It was after my father's passing that I took over. Part of me was doing it for him, but I wanted to make it my own too. I've tried to infuse a new vision into the team, to make it more than just a business. I want it to be something that resonates with the fans, something they can feel proud of." Ella could see the passion in his eyes, the way the corners of his mouth turned up when he spoke about the team. "That's admirable, Julian. It sounds like you're trying to honor his legacy while also making your own mark." He nodded, a flicker of something deeper passing through his gaze. "It's not always easy, though. There are days when I feel the weight of it all, and the pressure to succeed can be suffocating. Sometimes I question if I'm doing the right thing. Ella reached out instinctively, her fingers grazing the edge of the table. It's okay to feel that way. You're human after all. I can't imagine the expectations you must face. But look at you. You're here connecting with people, making a difference. That's what matters. Julian's eyes softened and she felt a surge of warmth between them. You really believe that? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I do, she replied, the sincerity pouring out of her. We're all just trying to figure it out, aren't we? The moments we share with others, the impact we have on their lives, that's what makes it worthwhile. He held her gaze, and in that instant, Ella felt a deep understanding grow between them, a bond forged through shared struggles and aspirations. The cafe around them faded as they became lost in each other's thoughts, like the world outside had paused for just a moment. Ella, Julian said, breaking the silence, I want to be honest with you. I don't often let people in. Running a business, keeping up appearances, it can be isolating. But you make me feel different. I don't know how to explain it. Her heart swelled, a mixture of fear and exhilaration flooding her senses. I feel it too, she admitted, her voice steady. I've been searching for something real, something more than just the noise of the city. And meeting you tonight, it feels significant. His smile broadened, and she felt the warmth of it wrap around her like a blanket. Maybe it's the universe telling us we're meant to connect. Who knows? But I can't ignore how easy it is to talk to you. Just then the cafe door swung open, and the chilly night air swept in, making Ella shiver involuntarily. Julian immediately reached across the table, his hand enveloping hers, warm and reassuring. You're cold, he said, concern flickering in his eyes. I'll take you home after this. No need to freeze while we talk. Ella's breath caught in her throat and she didn't pull her hand away. Instead, she reveled in the warmth of his touch, her pulse quickening. Are you sure? It's late, she said, feeling a thrill run through her at the thought of spending more time with him. Absolutely, he replied, his voice low and firm. I think we have a lot more to share, don't you? Yes, I do, she said softly, the weight of the moment settling around them. As they continued to talk, the cafe grew busier, the sound of laughter and clinking of cups filling the air. But for Ella and Julian, it was as if they existed in a bubble, a world where only their words mattered. They shared dreams, fears, and stories of their past, each revelation drawing them closer together. Do you believe in fate? Julian asked, his eyes searching hers. I don't know, Ella replied thoughtfully. Sometimes I think we create our own paths, but then there are moments that feel so perfectly orchestrated, like they were meant to happen. Meeting you tonight feels like one of those moments. He smiled, a warm, genuine smile that sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. You're extraordinary, Ella. I hope you realize that. She felt a rush of warmth at his words, a mixture of pride and shyness blooming within her. Thank you, Julian. I'm just trying to be myself. Don't ever stop, he said, his voice steady. The world needs more people like you. As their conversation deepened, the atmosphere inside the cafe shifted from playful banter to heartfelt connection. They shared dreams of the future. Julian talked about expanding the team's outreach, wanting to create programs for underprivileged kids to experience sports. Ella shared her vision of writing a book that would inspire others to find their voice. The clock ticked away, but time seemed to stand still around them. With each story, each laugh, the connection they were building grew undeniable, and Ella couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. Finally, as the cafe began to dim its lights and prepare to close, Ella glanced at her watch in surprise. Wow, we've been here for hours, she exclaimed, a mixture of disbelief and joy flooding her senses. Julian chuckled, his eyes twinkling. Time flies when you're having fun. Thank you for tonight, she said, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I didn't expect to meet someone like you." He stood and she followed suit, their hands brushing once again. "The pleasure was all mine," he replied, his voice low and warm. "I've had more fun than I thought possible." As they stepped out into the cool night air, Julian draped his jacket over her shoulders once more, the familiar warmth enveloping her. "Let's get you home," he said, his hand finding the small of her back, guiding her gently through the streets. They walked side by side, the city alive with lights and sounds, but all Ella could focus on was the man beside her. There was something electric in the air, an intensity that pulsed between them with every shared glance, every accidental brush of shoulders. As they approached her apartment building, Ella's heart raced. "I had such a good time tonight, Julian," she said, turning to face him as they reached the doorway. "Really, thank you for making me feel so connected." "Ella," he said, his voice low, a hint of vulnerability playing in his tone as he stepped closer, closing the distance between them. "I want to see you again. This isn't just a one-time thing for me." Her breath caught in her throat, and she felt a spark ignite in response to his words, a bloom of hope that unfurled in the depths of her heart. She studied Julian's face, the intensity of his gaze igniting 1,000 questions, 100 possibilities. "Julian," she began, her voice steady but laced with the tremor of anticipation, "I want to see you too, but I need to be honest. I'm not great at navigating this." She gestured between them, the charged atmosphere crackling with a blend of excitement and uncertainty. "I've been alone for so long, and sometimes it feels safer that way." He nodded slowly, his expression softening as understanding flickered in his eyes. "I get that. It's easier to keep walls up and avoid the risk of getting hurt, but I'm not asking you to throw caution to the wind. Just to take a chance with me." Ella felt her heart race at the thought. "What if this ends badly?" she questioned, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her tone. "What if I fall for you and I don't catch you?" He finished, his voice gentle. The sincerity in his gaze made the shadows of her fears feel less imposing. "I can't promise that everything will be perfect, but I can promise that I'll be honest with you. I'll treat you with respect, and I'll do my best to be someone you can rely on." A warm wave of affection washed over her, and Ella felt the tension in her shoulders ease just a bit. "You're asking for a lot of trust," she admitted, her voice quieter now, the intimacy hanging heavily in the air. "And I'm willing to earn it," he replied, taking a step closer, his presence enveloping her like the warmth of his jacket. "I don't want to rush you, but I also don't want to let this moment slip away." The vulnerability in his eyes mirrored her own, and Ella felt a pull toward him, an undeniable chemistry that transcended the surface level. "Okay," she whispered, her heart racing. "Let's take that chance." His smile returned, bright and genuine, and in that instant she felt the weight of the world around them lift. "Good," he said softly, and before she could even think of the implications, he moved closer still, the warmth radiating from him seeping into her skin. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice a low murmur, the seriousness of the moment grounding them both. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, feeling a thrill of exhilaration pulse through her. With a gentle yet deliberate movement, Julian reached out, brushing a loose curl away from her face, his fingers lingering against her skin. The world around them faded into a blur, and for a heartbeat, it was just them beneath the stars, the night air shimmering with unspoken promises. And then he leaned in, closing the distance between them. Their lips met softly, a sweet exploration that sent a jolt of electricity racing through her. The kiss deepened gradually, his hand cradling her face, creating a cocoon of warmth and safety. Ella melted against him, her heart soaring as she surrendered to the moment, feeling alive in a way she hadn't in years. When they pulled back, Ella's breath mingled with his, her heart racing from the kiss. "Wow," she murmured, her cheeks flushed with a mix of delight and disbelief. "That was unexpected." Julian chuckled softly, the sound rich and warm. "Unexpected can be good," he said, his eyes sparkling in the dim light of the street lamp. "I have a feeling this is just the beginning of something amazing." Ella bit her lip, her heart fluttering at the promise in his words. "I hope you're right. Let's take this one step at a time," he suggested, his tone reassuring. "How about we plan for dinner this weekend? Somewhere special, just you and me. We can talk more about everything, life, dreams, and whatever else comes to mind." "I'd love that," she replied, her heart brimming with new possibilities. "Maybe we can even find a way to incorporate art into it. I could show you some of Mia's paintings. They're incredible." His smile widened, and she felt a rush of joy at the thought of sharing something so personal with him. "I'd like that very much. I can't wait to see what inspires you." There was a lightness in the air as they lingered on the threshold of her building, the anticipation of what lay ahead igniting an exhilarating spark between them. "I guess I should get inside," she said reluctantly, glancing at the door behind her. "Yeah," Julian replied, his gaze lingering on her, the warmth of his presence making it hard to pull away. "But I'd like to stay a little longer, just to soak in this moment." Ella smiled, her heart fluttering at his words. "Okay," she said, leaning against the wall beside her door, drawing him close again. "A few more moments won't hurt." They stood together, the cool night air kissing their skin, their bodies moving closer as they shared intimate stories of their lives. Ella found herself revealing more than she had intended, a memoir of her struggles, her dreams, and the loneliness that had shadowed her since moving to the city. Julian listened, his expression rich with empathy, and she could see the compassion in his eyes as she spoke. "It's refreshing to meet someone who understands the complexities of life," she said softly, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I didn't expect to feel so seen tonight." "Ella, you deserve to be seen," he replied, his voice earnest. "Everyone deserves that, but especially you. You have a light that shines bright, and I want to be around it." Feeling the warmth of his words wrap around her like a cozy blanket, Ella looked up at him. "Thank you. That means more to me than you know," she confessed, her voice soft and sincere. "You're welcome," he replied, his gaze steady on her. "I mean it." Just as she was about to respond, they heard footsteps approaching, and a couple of loud, boisterous voices cut through the stillness of the night, pulling them back into reality. Julian glanced toward the sound, his expression shifting as the moment dissolved into a shared laughter between a group of friends crossing the street. "Looks like our moment is about to be interrupted," he said with a playful smirk. "But I'm not ready to let go of this yet. Can I walk you inside?" Ella nodded, her heart racing at the thought of him being so close. "I'd like that." They walked side by side toward her door, their fingers brushing occasionally, sending electricity through the air. Once inside the building, Julian leaned against the wall, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating off him. They stood there, just the two of them, the world outside fading away once more. "What if I told you I wanted to hold your hand?" he asked suddenly, his tone teasing yet sincere. Ella's breath caught in her throat, a blush creeping to her cheeks as she bit her lip, contemplating the question. "I think I'd like that." He grinned, a handsome, boyish smile that lit up his face. "Good to know." Gently, he took her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. The simple contact sent a cascade of warmth through her body, a surge of connection that felt electric. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said, his voice low as he looked deep into her eyes. "Of course," she replied, her pulse quickening from the weight of their moment. "What if this is a beginning? What if we explore this connection and see where it takes us?" Ella's heart raced. "Are you saying you want to be more than friends?" "I am," he replied, his eyes unwavering. "I'm saying I want to invest in this, whatever this is between us. I want to see where it leads." Her heart swelled at his words, the vulnerability and sincerity behind them making her chest tighten with emotion. "I want that too," she confessed, her voice almost a whisper. "Then let's take it one day at a time," Julian suggested, his thumb gently brushing over the back of her hand, creating an intimate warmth that enveloped them. "No pressure, just possibilities." "Possibilities sound wonderful," she said, her lips curling into a soft smile. With their fingers still entwined, they lingered there in the doorway, both savoring the moment, the connection forged in the heat of the evening still wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. As the laughter of the group outside faded into the distance, Ella felt a sense of hope rise within her. Beneath the stadium lights, a new chapter had begun, and she couldn't help but wonder what adventures awaited her and Julian in the days to come.